Hello and welcome to the Blue Open Studio tutorial video series. The topic of this video will be linked symbols. And in this video, we will be discussing what a link symbol is, the properties of a link symbol, and then we will demonstrate creating and editing a link symbol, accessing the symbol library, and placing a symbol on the screen. We will begin by first discussing what a symbol is. And a symbol is a set of one or more screen objects that is saved in the symbols library and that can be reused on any screen. So for a link symbol, when you use a symbol on a screen, you essentially create a copy that is linked back to the master symbol, which is located in the symbol library. When changes are made to the master symbol, they are cascaded down to any link symbols used on the screens. Tags, expressions, and values, they can still be used in a link symbol. They can either be set statically, essentially the same TEV or tag, expression, value used for all instances, or they can be dynamically defined as a custom property using the syntax that you see on the screen. The category is an optional name for a collection of related properties, such as all captions or checkbox values. If you do not specify a category for a property, it will be automatically listed under the main category. And property is a label to identify the specific property of that link symbol. And it is required for each property or each tag, expression, value that you set up as a dynamic entry for the link symbol. And it must always be followed by a colon. And a value is an optional default value for that property. So for example, in the link symbol, if we created a property called caption, we did colon, and then we entered inside of quotes the word caption, that would be the default value that would show up. But once a link symbol is placed on the screen, it can be unlinked or disconnected from the master symbol in the library and can be used independently. It can then be ungrouped and things can be modified or changed, but it does still retain all of the properties it had as a linked symbol, but it will no longer be updated if the master symbol is modified. So now we will look at creating a linked symbol. And what I will do first is in the development, I will go to the Project Explorer, expand my screen list. I will open the template screen, and then I will save this as a new screen, and I will call it Symbols. Then once the symbol screen is open, I will draw a rounded rectangle. And then I will right-click and select Create Linked Symbol. And then I will save it as my symbol. Now that I've saved it as a linked symbol, I can right-click, and on the context menu I see this two options, Edit Link Symbol and Unlink Link Symbol. So I'm going to click on Edit. And now it looks like it just opens the part again on a screen, but in fact, this is the developer canvas for the link symbol itself. So I can change it in here. So for example, I want to add a label to this and I'm going to make it static. So I am going to select rectangle. First going to draw the rectangle, then go inside to the caption. The caption in curly brackets, I'm going to put in our tag temperature. And then I'm going to click OK. I will resize this a little bit. And I will place it right there, center it up. And then now I want to change the background color for this rounded rectangle. I'm just going to change it to a green, and I will change the border to a black. And now I have my link symbol configured the way that I want it. This is just a basic one with a static tag. So I'm going to save. And you will get a message that says the changes in the link symbol will not take effect until you resave any screens where it's used. You can also run a verify project from the tools menu in order to update any link symbols. And then of course you have the option to hide this message from now on. I'm going to click OK. However, if I do come back to my symbol screen, you now see that the link symbol has updated with the label and the new background color and border color. So if I double click on the link symbol to bring up the properties, you see the object properties window comes up, and it's pretty blank with the exception of a couple of pieces of information. Across the top, we have the push bin, the replace, and any drop-down items in the list, of course with a hint. And then we have the name field, and this is the name of the linked symbol. So in this case, we created the mysymbol.sym, so it gives the name here. And then we have the options for use link size. So if we uncheck this box, it will retain a connection to the link symbol, but we're allowed to resize it. So for example, if I bring this over and I'll pin it, right now, even though it's got anchor points, I'm not able to resize. If I were to uncheck this, now I can resize this as a grouped object. As you see, the caption or the label across the top, that rectangle that we added, also increases or decreases in size proportionately based on the amount that we resize it. I'm going to undo that back to its original size. I'll check that box again. And then we have the option for display properties from all categories. We don't have any properties configured yet, but what I can do is if I check this box, all of the properties will show up here based on their category. And over on the left-hand side, we have a category field. So what that means is that we can select a specific category that we've created when we've developed this link symbol, and we will filter out and show only the properties assigned to that category. Then the expand shows a much larger list of the properties available for the link symbol. In this case, we don't have any configured, so you don't see them anyway. And then, of course, the main region inside of this is for the properties, and it gives you the column for the properties and then a column for the values. So what I will do now is I will copy this link symbol over, and then I will first unlink the link symbol, and now you see that I can move each individual part of the original link symbol as their own separate objects because I have now broken the link back to the master symbol. But in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of those items, and I'm going to create a new link symbol. And this time, it's going to be my symbol 2. And then I will right click and go into edit. And this time, inside the rectangle, I am going to create a property for the link symbol. And in here, I'm going to change the temperature to # caption, colon, and then I'm actually going to put a tag in. Now I recommend putting something in when you create a property. You can leave it blank by default, but if you put something in, say if we wanted this to be a static value, I could put caption inside of quotes, or if in our case here, I put a tag in. And the reason why I recommend this is so it gives you the proper syntax, because if there's going to be an error, you're going to see it here during development instead of when you attempt to enter in a tag when you're configuring a link symbol on a screen. So we have our caption now set up. I click OK, and I save. I get the same message about updating any symbols on any screens. Click OK though. I come back to my symbol screen, and now you see that it is updated with the new label. And when I double click on the link symbol, I now see under properties I have main.caption, and then the value is second. And if you do not give anything a category, as I mentioned before, it will come under the main category. And the reason why we see this is because I have this box checked. If I uncheck that, it just shows us the property name instead of the group that it is assigned to. So in this case, we don't want to leave it at second. We actually want to put in the temperature tag. So here, I could do one of two things. I could type the name in, or I could double click and bring up the object finder And then since we're starting to get more and more tags here, I'm going to filter them out. I'm going to find temperature and add that in. So now I have two link symbols, both configured differently, but both should display the same information. So what I will do first is I will close my two link symbol. I'll say yes, yes again. Save my symbol screen. And then I will bring up navigation. And I am simply going to copy the animation button, go into the properties, and change the screen from animations to symbols. And then of course back to the button, change the caption to linked symbols. I will save again. And this time, since I have multiple screens open that I want to close, I'll go to View. I'll drop down this Windows menu, and I will select Close All. And now I will start the runtime. And now with the runtime open, I'll click on Link Symbols, and you see that both appear on the screen. And I will snap this to the right, and I will snap the development to the left. And I will go to DB4. Down at the bottom, I will enter in my tag temperature. And then now I will simply just change the value. We see now that we see our tag value show up. So now we will create one more linked symbol, and this will be an image, or a group of images actually. So I will, back in development, expand this back out, and then open my symbol screen. And I will need to add some objects here, but first I need to copy the objects. So I will open Windows Explorer, and under C drive, I will go into my BOS Training Files, and we see two folders here, Resources and Screen. So if I click Resources, I see that I have two buttons, a left and a right, and these, if anyone has used GP Pro EX, will look similar. These are actually two objects out of GP Pro EX, not the actual parts, but just an image of each one. So I am going to copy these, and you see that they're in the Resources folder. So if I come back to BOS Training, and I go under Web, you see Resources here. And if I expand it, you will see that I have several what looks like individual parts. And if you looked at the animations video, these are components for the slider link symbols that we put on the screen. So what it does is whenever you copy a master symbol out of the symbol library and place it on a screen, in that application folder, under Web, under Resources, it creates a symbol folder, and then the category that corresponds to the symbol library, in our case sliders, and then it places them there, places each individual object for the link symbol there, and then of course it copies them into the Resources root as well. For us, I'm going to copy and then paste those two buttons or two switches into the Resources folder. And now they're here. So I will close Windows Explorer and back on the screen. So I'm going to go into Graphics. And then I am going to click on Linked Picture. I'm going to select Dial Left. And then I will copy it. And then in the properties, I'm going to browse again, and I'm going to go under Resources again and select Dial Right. And now I have both here. So what I want to do is I first want to select both of them. I will right click and then once again select Create Link Symbol. And I will make this my dial. And then I will edit. And what I'm going to do is I'll just drag them over here. And I'll first modify the left switch. And under graphics, I'll select visibility position. And then for the visibility field, I'm going to create a new property. So # VIS tag, and then colon, and then I'm going to add in the tag second, and then equal 1. So what this is saying is, here's my property, which is VIS tag, and the value for it is second equals 1. Additionally, we could simply just remove that and just do VIS tag second. But if we're going to use a normal tag that is an integer and not a Boolean, we may need to give it a qualifier. And that's why we add in the equals 1. And then I will come back up to graphics and select command. And I'm going to go to the on up tab, and I am going to change the type from VBScript to built-in language. And for the tag, I'm going to enter in #CMD tag colon second, and in the expression, I'm going to put 0. And we haven't talked much about scripting yet, or the built-in language, but a quick rundown is, for the tag column, whatever you put in there, it will assign whatever is in the expression column to that tag. So in this case, we are putting in our property of CMD tag, and we are assigning it a value of second. So essentially for this, the tag column for row 1 will be second, and the expression will be 0. So what it is doing is when we press that linked picture to fire the command animation, is actually going to write a 0 to the second tag, even though we can't because the second tag is a system tag. So those are read-only, but we will change it to a user-created tag once we configure the link symbol on the screen. So now what we will do is we will select the right dial, and I will click on command and visibility position. For visibility, #VIS tag colon second equals 0. Then I will drop down the visibility position and select command. And I'll go to the on up tab, leave it at built-in language. And for the tag, I'll put in #CMD tag colon second, and the expression will be 1. So now we have both of the objects configured. All left to do now is just overlap them and then save. We get that same message again about updating the link symbol on screens. We click OK, come back to symbols, and now we have it set up here. And just to kind of give you a little more of a representation, I'm going to open my active object screen, and I'm going to copy that ellipse and that label and bring it back onto my symbol screen and just put it right under here. And then I will save. And now we need to configure this link symbol. So I open it up, and you see now that I have two properties, command tag and viz or VIS tag. And they're both set to second. So what we want to do is change both of them, and they're going to be changed to the same tag. So I will double click on command, and I will find mode. And then I will simply copy that and paste it into the visibility tag property. Once that's set, I will save. And then I can snap my development back to the left, and we see the runtime has been updated. And then when I click on the dial, I am executing command and visibility, and you see that it updates that ellipse as well. So now we showed how to create our own linked symbols, but If you looked at some previous videos, especially the active objects and animations, you did see that we showed some predefined symbols out of the library. So what I will do is I will come back into the development, and on the graphics menu, you'll see symbols. If you click on that, it will bring up a new screen or tab that's the symbols library. And it's open to the last type of symbol I selected. In this case, it was a slider. But you see on this tab, there is the grouping tree list on the left-hand side, and it's first broken up into project symbols, which are the ones that I've created, and then system symbols, which are the predefined ones that are available in any project. And then if I expand system, they're broken up into categories: architecture, arrows, bar graphs, and so on. And so, for example, if I expand push buttons, I see just this massive list of buttons available. But if I click on the push buttons folder, I now see them show up on the right-hand side, and now I can look at each one of them and see which one I want. And then if I simply click on one, you'll see that my arrow icon gets a rounded rectangle shape below it. So that means that I have this object selected. And then if I go to active objects, or my symbol screen actually, and I click, it then copies that and creates a linked copy of that master symbol on my screen. To find them under Windows is pretty easy. What I do is I will use the built-in function get product path. And what this does is this gives me the path right to the executable to open Blue Open Studio. So I'm going to copy that value, open Windows Explorer, paste it in there, and then you see the folder symbol. If I come in here, it's broken down into the categories that we saw on the symbol library inside development. So for example, our sliders, and then it gives us each individual linked or master symbol, slider 1, 2, 3, so on. We can also modify these master symbols inside of Blue Open Studio. So for example, if I decide I want to change slider 1, make it a little bit more customized, then I could copy this out, paste it into another installation of Blue Open Studio, and then have that available. Additionally, if I go back to my C drive and I open BOS Training, and then under symbol, I have my items here, push buttons and sliders. Push button because I just put one on the screen. I can copy these, especially my custom built ones, and put them into another application, and now they are readily available to use in that application. I don't have to import or export or anything like that. I can simply copy out of one app directory and paste it into another, and they're ready to go. And you see, this is where the actual SYM file is stored, is under the symbol folder in the application directory. We looked under web and resources. That's where the pictures, individual linked pictures, are for the symbols. So basically the link symbol, well, it's configured to use specific linked pictures inside of that symbol. This is where they are stored. So these are the pictures that the symbols in this directory use. It might be a little confusing at first, but the more you use link symbols, the more familiar you will be with this structure and the relationship between these folders inside of the application directory. So now we will show how to place a couple more link symbols on a screen. For this, we're actually going to add a clock and a exit or application shutdown button onto the header screen. So close Windows Explorer, and back in development, I will close my 3 open screens, and then open the header, and then also on graphics, open the symbols library, and I will go into the buttons group. And these are predefined buttons that can do some basic executions. For example, we have one that will bring up the calculator. There will be Notepad and also a web browser, which is your default web browser configured for Windows. So for us, we want to first select the exit button, which is button_exit. We click on it to select, come to header, and then click again to place it. And then I'll reposition it in the upper right corner. If I open the properties, you see that I have a disable field, and this works just like the disable field on any of the other objects. So any non-zero value means that it's true, which means that the command animation for this link symbol will be disabled. Essentially, the button won't work. And then we have a label. By default, it's set to exit. We could change it to shut down or leave application, whatever label you want to put in there. And now we want to place the clock. So if I go back to the symbols library and then I select date time, and sometimes it takes a little while to load, I will select one at the bottom, which is the time W day white 01. And then I will come back to my header, and then place it, and then reposition down here at the bottom. And now I will save my screen. Then I will snap my development back to the left, and we now see that my runtime has been updated. And we get the date and time showing up here. And yes, based on how the link symbol is created, it is doing math to format the hour from 24-hour to 12 with AM or PM. And then we have the exit button up here. So if I click on this, it'll say, are you sure you want to exit the application? I click yes, and then it shuts down. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact ProFace America Technical Support by phone at 1-800-289-9266, option 2, or by email, support@profaceamerica.com. You can also visit our website, profaceamerica.com, for manuals, drivers, product FAQs, and other product and software information. Thanks again, and have a great day.